Awesome.
Perfect.
Okay. All right, got it. Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for coming on board today. I know it was very short notice. I think I was scheduled in for a few weeks down the track, but I'm just filling in as a little spot because we've had our exciting life stories training, and so we thought might as well not delay any further. So for those who don't know me, I'm Miriam Cafer. You may have seen my face in the past on Zooms as occupational therapist for MND Queensland, but I had a little stint away and came back as a volunteer in a volunteer capacity, I think. More so just I had a change of life, I guess, and wanted to do something different. And Stacey very kindly offered me this opportunity. And I have spoken to a few of you, and you will have a little bit of an idea of what the Life Stories is about because you were part of our focus group. So I thank you for that. What we'll do is we'll go through, but please feel free to butt in and ask questions, and we'll start that way. So MND Queensland Life Stories is all about that everyone has a story to tell. Even the simplest of stories are great stories. So it's the idea that, let's have a look. It's actually born out of an idea that Stacey had, I think, because she's the one who approached me about it, that it wouldn't be all about MND. It would be actually a service that would put the people first. And you wouldn't have to talk about your diagnosis at all. It's more to do with your life story. There's no one asking questions about your health. There's no one asking questions about how you're feeling today. It's really focused on you as the person telling your life story. I came in as what they call a life stories coordinator role, really just to do the background work, to try and research and set it up. But in saying that, we want to embrace it as an MND Queensland community and let everyone kind of help in the growth of it and let it evolve from there. So that's why it was really important that we had our little focus group and got the clients and, you know, staff to all feed back into the program about what they'd like to see this life stories look like. Okay, and so we're still growing and we're still evolving, and we appreciate the feedback from everyone. And as it's got there, we've had amazing response. So people are really keen, they like the idea of it, it's something positive, it's something to look forward to. So I think it will be embraced quite nicely. The other thing that I guess also really sort of led us to pushing forward with this is that there's a lot of good research that shows that there are actual health benefits for those people telling their story. And I'll get on to those in a minute, but yeah, so it's such a positive thing that we thought, well, why don't we introduce that to MND Queensland for our clients? And in discussion with other services and organisations, I mean, they're not related to MND Queensland, but other services such as hospices and aged people's homes, and they all report such positive benefits that we thought that we should try it as well. So that's how it sort of came about, the idea. And the more we looked into it, the more research we did, we really felt like this was something that we could do as a community. So this is something that we learned the other day in our in-service, that the story is actually secondary in the process. Okay, it is what happens to the storyteller in the telling of their story that is the most important part. And everyone has a story to tell, no matter how big or small. So once a person gets involved in life stories, that weekly telling of their story actually became quite a therapeutic tool for them. And so that's what kind of they're getting out of the Life Stories program, and that's what we're hoping to achieve. So some of the things we learnt the other day is that telling your story gives you control when often you don't feel like you have any at the moment with your journey with MND. So you're in control of what your story is going to look like. Yep, it has nothing to do with MND or clinical needs. You don't have to tell somebody whether you're having trouble eating or communicating or walking. It's purely the positives and, you know, how you're going with your memories and what you'd love to leave for your family as a legacy. Okay, so you're reliving experiences, sharing memories, you're celebrating life, I guess, and affirming all the great things you've done, okay, in your history. Most people find really a sense of peace with it as they're reflecting, and they reclaim their identity. They forget some of the things that they achieved, and by retelling their story, they go, wow, you know, I had a really great childhood, or wow, I really loved that first job. And there's that sense of reflection and growth and peace, and reliving those experiences and achievements. So that's where all that positivity comes from. So in short, our Life Story service has been founded as a service that allows clients to review and share their life story. That's basically what that's about. Our trained volunteers are going to transcribe your story in your words so that your voice comes through. They're there to listen. Okay, it's not like a two-way chat. They're really good listeners, and they're there to hear the story in your words and write it down for you. And at the end of the process, you're going to have a book that is personal to you that you can share as a legacy with people, should you choose. So that's what it's going to look like, and I'll show you what the books will look like in a minute. How does the program work? Well, it's open to the members for MND Queensland. I don't know if Stacey, you want to say any more about that?
Yeah, look, I guess I could just add that obviously membership is free for people with an MND diagnosis. So we've made it a member benefit because obviously we have a finite number of volunteers, and we want to make sure that we focus on those people that have MND or are connected to our organisation, rather than have our volunteers all busy doing life stories for the wider community. So if somebody isn't a member already, then it's an easy process to just become a member. So we can, it wouldn't slow down a request for the service. That's
right. So yeah, so we thought we'd start with our, you know, members, which is important, our local little community. Referral comes through the website. We've already kind of launched under our services that there is a Life Stories service, and there is the referral form directly attached to that you can do yourselves, or you may want to mention it to your support coordinators should you have one with MND Queensland, and they can put a referral in on your behalf. Alternatively, if it's easier, we do have a Life Stories email address that you can approach, and we can contact you, I guess, and fill out the referral form. And then generally what will happen is myself or we'll look over the emails and see if any new referrals have come through. And these are our lovely volunteers here. We've got 4 wonderful volunteers that did the training with us the other day. Now these guys have been hand-picked and recruited and trained by MND Queensland. So you can rest assured that each one of them has the most beautiful, caring nature. They're empathetic, they're great listeners, they're compassionate, and they genuinely are interested in hearing people's life stories. This is why they were chosen. Out of quite a few recruits, actually, there was quite a few who were interested, and these guys diligently showed up each time we asked them to, and they've come to the training in their own time. And Linda's with us today. She's popped in today. And each of them has some wonderful skills that they bring to the Life Story service. So we're super excited to get started. Yeah. All right. So everything does come with a process, and I for one hate admin and processes. And in general, really the outcome we want is a life story in a book to give to a person. That's really our end game, our outcome. But if a few steps slip along the way, we're happy with that too. But the process is just to help us set a structure, I guess. It gives the volunteers some guidance. It gives you guys some guidance of what to expect might happen. So we've talked about the referral coming through, and that just gives us your details and you know, your preferred methods of contact and that sort of thing. And we make sure we've got spellings right, because we want to make sure we've got your name spelt right. That's very important. When the volunteer contacts you, they will explain the process again in a little bit more detail. They'll explain, you know, how the Life Stories works, which is generally that it's, you know, a 1 hour session. We will aim to do face-to-faces where we can, but obviously geographically it may not be possible, or if there's sudden lockdowns or anything like that, it may happen over Zoom or some other meeting platform. But it's a face-to-face, one-on-one. We ask that there aren't any other people in the room. We ask for that, you know, that quiet listening and telling of the story kind of atmosphere. This will happen over about 5 to 10 sessions, depending on how much of a life story. Some people, you know, have a lot to say, other people don't, and that is completely governed by yourselves about what you want to have in your life story book. Some people may choose just writing letters to their loved ones, and, you know, our volunteers will help to just transcribe those in your voice. Genuinely, what we ask for is at the beginning of the process, once the volunteer has explained it and you're happy to go ahead, that we get you to sign a consent form, just so that you can acknowledge that the process is going to be us transcribing your words. A book will be produced at the end of it, and that is something that you have chosen, the style that you want. You're aware that we can insert photos and other documents for you, and that you're participating in this step by step. So you're there to help lightly edit with us. You're reviewing the work. So it's just a consent form that you're happy to commit to the process and work with us to get this book done for you. And once the volunteers have beautifully transcribed it and lightly edited it to your wishes and put the photos in for you, we get you to just have a look at the final product and approve it before it gets off to print and delivered to you. And that's generally, we're just going to work on a very common platform, which is Officeworks. Other organisations tend to just bind it in a spiral ring binder, but we've kind of decided that we would go for a little bit more of a hard copy type scenario, and you can choose whether you have your photo on the front, and then what happens is we write your story. So this is just a traditional photo book, but instead of being full of photos, it'll actually be full of text, your story. Okay, and then you can choose whatever photos you might want to be in there. We generally say about 8 to 10 photos, just because these books come as a 20-page document in the price. And I mean, should you have a huge life story, they do go up to 100 pages, but you need to be aware every extra page beyond the 20 is an extra cost. So, but the volunteer will let you know if you're getting towards the end of those 20 pages and extra costs are being incurred. Okay, so yeah, they come in all different styles, and that's another thing that you can do, that, you know, you can choose the style that you want. Okay, so that's what happens. We're still practicing and getting that down pat, but they're looking really good. Okay, just so that you know, you as the storyteller, all information is confidential. Okay, so no different to talking to a health professional at MND Queensland. Your life story is confidential with the volunteer. On the consent form you're signing, it will actually say, you know, I consent to you being able to talk to other family members, or, you know, it's quite specific. So at this point, at the moment, all that information is confidential, and it'll just be between yourself and the volunteer. All information is destroyed once your book is printed. So that booklet will be kept on the Officeworks platform for you to access for quite a number of months afterwards, should you want to reprint it for other people, or should you choose straight away that you want 3 copies, that's fine. But all our note taking and transcriptions will be actually destroyed with as soon as possible once that book has been printed, and that's just for your confidentiality as well. You at all times decide on the direction and focus of the story. So, if you don't want to start in the beginning, then that's fine. If you want to start from, age 30 onwards, it's completely your story. So no one is going to be putting words in your mouth or guiding you or structuring it for you. It really, what we want to see happen is when your family or friends open that booklet, we want them to get a real sense of who you are as a person, that they can hear your voice in the words that are being spoken. And you can decide, obviously, who sees your book. That's completely up to you at the end. I guess I just wanted to bring up some things to note, that obviously it is a very new service. We literally had our training the other day, and that the success and growth of this service relies on everyone's efforts in the MND community. We want to continue to grow. We want this service to be unique for our clients, and we want people to enjoy the process. And everyone comes from such wonderful backgrounds with different skills. So if people have ideas or feedback, we really appreciate that. We want to hear them, because this is meant to be owned by yourselves. This is something that we're doing for the MND community, and we want you to own it and love it. Just something that's really important is that we are, the 4 of us and myself included in that, so the 5 of us are actually all volunteers giving up our time. Like, we do actually have our own families and jobs and friends and things like that. So just be aware that our lovely volunteers are not specialist services. They're giving their time to transcribe because they have a genuine love and they want to do it in their free time. And I guess that's something I just really want to do for the protection of them. We don't want them being overwhelmed and then we lose them altogether. So just being mindful about that. The other thing that came up in our in-service and came up for discussion is that whilst when we're telling our story, we may give some sensitive information and want that included in our story, just to be aware that it's not a counselling session. Okay, our volunteers aren't there to fix anything or give advice or, report back on anything. So they're transcribing your story in your voice. That's literally what their job is. Okay. And like I said, we appreciate the feedback and ideas and patience and cups of coffee. It's always nice. So now I finished that really quickly, Stacey, because, I'm so used to talking about it that it just flows. And so, yes, we're now officially up and running and looking forward to seeing what people's reactions are and feedback.
Excellent. All right. Thank you very much, Miriam. Do you mind just stopping your share? Can you?
Already done.
I can see everyone again now. So great. Yeah, look, I just want to really acknowledge the work that Miriam has put in to create this this service. It's been exceptional and has been very, very many hours of effort, and like she says, it's all been as a volunteer. So we're very, very fortunate to have someone like Miriam leading the new service. And yeah, thank you from me personally and the organisation.
It's been very enjoyable, and like I said, we wouldn't do it if we didn't love it. So yeah.
And as Miriam said, Linda, one of our volunteers, is here with us today. So at risk of putting you on the spot, Linda, did you want to just introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about who you are and what made you want to be part of the project?
Sure. Thanks, Stacey. Thanks, Miriam. Hi, everybody. My name's Linda, and I've been volunteering a very long time, since probably I was about 16. Let's not count how many years that might be. My background is in community service management, mainly mental health and aged care, but I'm actually a counsellor in private practice now. So I specialise in grief and loss and pet grief and loss, end of life and life transitions. And I love books. I love reading. Some of my earliest memories are of reading and books, and I love to write as well. And I like to give back to the community. I'm very fortunate with who I am and where I am in life. So in this point, this popped up. I was actually thinking about something like this, and as the universe does when it's ready, it just kind of dropped it into my lap, and I was fortunate enough to make contact with the lovely Miriam and the lovely Stacey, and they've been really supportive and transparent with everything, and it's just such a great project. And I appreciate the value that this sort of thing can give to people, and also the people left behind as well. So hopefully I'll be able to contribute in some way.
Excellent, thank you, Linda. And I do need to just correct something you said, Miriam. As much as I'd love to take credit for this idea, it was an idea that was presented to me by a lady called Elizabeth Davis, who's done a previous presentation for us. So I definitely see that it will be an important new service for our clients, but unfortunately wasn't my idea at all.
Well, good that you kept pushing that idea though, Stacey.
Yeah.
You kept pushing it.
Yeah, I'll take credit for that, thanks. All right, so over to you guys. Does anyone have anything you want to ask about the service, or let us know what you think of the idea?
I'll sort of kick it off. For me, it's a great idea. I guess I'm in a sort of a unique situation at this stage that I'd be looking at that further down the track, only because I'm still in a situation where I'm being diagnosed, so I haven't got anything definite yet, and I don't know what my future is going to be. So it may be, I'm positive, and I'm really glad at the stage where I'm at. So it's looking really positive for me. The point you made before, Miriam, about taking the positives. When I was first told I had a possible diagnosis, the positive, it was pretty traumatic over the first 6 months, what to do, etc., etc. And the positive that I took there is that I was diagnosed at my age. I wasn't an earlier diagnosis, so I'd had a pretty, I'm not too old, but I've had a pretty good life, and I took the positive. If I've got MND now, then I'm glad I've sort of got it in my latter stage of life. So I've had very unfortunate for the younger people that, in their 30s and 40s and 50s that get diagnosed. So that was the positive that I took, and that sort of got me through quite a few months. So but as I said before, I'm still basically in limbo. I've got to see a specialist in another month's time, and it's taking 18 months to 2 years to come up with something with a positive diagnosis. So again, I'd just say great idea, and I'd probably look at something like that further down the track if my condition really deteriorated and stuff like that. So
yeah, and I hear what you're saying there, and I guess like the program, like I said, is open to all members at any point. Like, we're not saying you can't be part of it or you can't be part of it. Obviously, because we're only new, what we're saying is that people who obviously are still very much verbal in their communication is obviously going to be easier for our volunteers as they're learning the process, but we're not going to ever turn anyone away at any point in their journey of MND. The funny thing is, these life stories, when they're told, MND very rarely even gets mentioned in them. And that's the beautiful thing about the life stories, is that the health stuff doesn't even come into it. In the focus groups, when we were doing them a few weeks, well, actually it's probably a few months ago now, when we were doing them a few months ago, what came up is one of the questions is, have you ever kind of thought of doing a biography or telling a story or leaving something for your family? And and a lot of people go, yeah, I'd love to write a story, I'd love to write something. And you kind of think, why haven't you done it yet? Like, why haven't you done it? And I think it's overwhelming. You've got so many things on your plate, and it just seems like such a big job. But what this does is breaks it down into such simple little 1 hour weekly type scenarios where you're having a chat and you're reliving, and you can have a giggle, and you can, and someone's listening, and they're listening actively, like they want to hear it, and transcribing it. So I guess, what I'm trying to say is that we want you to come in at any point. It doesn't have to be when you're got nothing else to do, or you're feeling, oh, you know, really sad. We want people to come in just because they're happy to share and want to leave some information for their family to, you know, to look over. Or, you know, me, I'm pretty self-absorbed sometimes. I just like to look at photos of myself. So, you know, and read about wonderful holidays we've done, and, you know, yeah, just relive things. So that's why I do photo books of a family, especially during COVID. Like, God, that was 2 years ago now. That's me, and under there would be a bald head if I took that hat off. And it's just a constant reminder of how much we have done, and, you know, all the good times as well.
Sure.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have any questions or comments?
No, I just think it's a good idea.
Thank you, Kelvin.
Thank you for your work, Miriam.
No, nice to see you, Calvin.
Yeah,
Is this the new place? It looks good.
Sorry, what?
Is that you're in your new place? It looks good.
Yeah, and in my comfy chair too.
And
And I just
awesome.
figured out how to stop zooming in on my face. But yeah,
I'm still learning.
yeah.
Yeah, so I'm hoping, because like I said, we had some lovely people in the focus group who were very keen. So I'm hoping that those lovely people put themselves forward again and take a chance and see how they go with the life stories. And because it is something that you have complete control over, and hopefully it will never happen, but we say to people, should you at any time want to retract from the service, you can as well. So if it all gets a bit too much, or you're too tired, or any of that, that's fine too. The actual service itself is free. The only cost is the book that you might choose to have produced. So that's the only cost to you. So yeah.
And that's designed to give
Yeah,
that's designed to give the person control over that end product as well. So then, rather than us determine what that looks like, then people can have the product that they're happy with, if we do it in that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
So is it just designed for basically MND people? Is there an opportunity there to offer it into other areas, and the cost of the book can be used as a donation to the MND Society?
Yeah, you guys don't see it.
Sorry, Miriam. Yeah. So it is for MND members, more so than people with MND, and the cost of the book is paid directly by the person whose life story it contains. So what will happen is, in the first session, that an account will be set up on the Officeworks site in the name of the person whose life story is, and they own that account realistically. We just have our volunteer will have the password, so they can go in and update the product, but it really does belong to the person whose story it is, and then they order the book when it's complete and they're happy with it.
Yeah, and I guess what you're saying, Ray, is at the moment we're not opening it up to other people. Other organisations or services have similar products, like similar services, I guess. So in aged care, they have volunteers that come in often and do a little bit of that sort of thing with some of the residents in aged care facilities, in palliative care places, because this whole idea of life stories or biography service came out of a hospice in New Zealand. They kind of started the ball rolling and realised that there was such a therapy in telling somebody's story. Like, that's actually a therapeutic tool, and it even goes further. There's actually a course called Dignity Therapy where set questions are asked of people and they tell their life story to those set questions. So at MND Queensland, we're wanting to be unique. We're wanting to kind of make our life story service unique to us. And so we've taken bits of information from everywhere and gone, yep, thanks very much, but we're going to do it our way, based on feedback from clients, based from feedback from staff, based from the feedback of our volunteers. And you know, we just want to try and evolve it and make it something that MND Queensland is going to be really proud of, and that is special to us and that you guys own. I think that's kind of what we're trying to do. But yeah, there are other services out in the community offering it. Some are volunteer ones, some are paid ones. Like, you can actually go and hire a private biographer if you wanted to do it, but it's quite costly. Yeah.
Excellent. Any other comments? No? Sam, you're unusually quiet. You got nothing?
I know he is. It's his stardom. He just is.
I'm not getting any takers on the autograph. I was going to go halves on that.
Is that why you've come on today, so you can just get an audience to sell your autograph to?
That's it. They haven't got any.
No requests yet? I can't believe that, Sam.
No.
All right.
But a lot of people commented on it, and that's the positive side of it. And I'm still getting people that haven't signed, but are going to sign. So it should be good.
Yes. So let's just plug in that Disability Doesn't Discriminate campaign. Everyone sign if you haven't already. It's really important.
Yeah.
That's it.
Good on you, Sam. All right, well, if that's everything everyone wanted to say, then I think we'll wrap up now. So like Miriam said, we are taking referrals. So for the benefit of those that are here today and anyone that might watch later, if you're interested in the Life Stories programme, get in touch with us either via our website or via phone in the office or an email to the lifestories@mndaq.org.au email address, and we'll get straight on it. Because we're very, very keen to start to produce some of these books for people. Hi, Leslie.
G'day, how are you, Stacey?
Thank you. We were just wrapping up, so nice to see you. Say goodbye.
I know.
All right, nice to see everyone, and we will see you all soon. Take care.
Okay.
Thanks, Miriam.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.